Are you feeling excited? Are you ready to see how the world's going to react to your book? All right, I hope so. So right now we're going to talk about building your buzz. It's getting your buzz started. This is you've already made the announcement. You've started to do some of your social media stuff a little bit. This is where you get to start to um, hand off some of the control and kind of see where things lead you. So we're going to talk about to start getting your buzz. We're going to talk about reviews because I think that the first thing you need to do is you need to have people talking about your book, and the way to get that done is through reviews. This kind of so there's kind of two things in this category, but I'm going to start for this part. I'm going to just talk about services where you pay for reviews, and that is so there's two different things. There's businesses that will or companies that will you send them a copy and they'll do a review and they'll you know possibly do a press briefing, like a press release and social media posts with their reviews, and you're paying for all of this, and it's like a package. There are multiple options. They're gonna find something for your budget that will accommodate you, but and that will be the different features that are offered. Um, Also, you're going to see this with influencers. Sometimes if you talk to an influencer, they're going to ask you if you want to pay them to do a review or a story spot or a reel or whatever. So I did not go about this way. I didn't pay for any reviews in because I didn't really know what the ROI was on this. It's there, some of these options are fairly expensive. I don't know how they're necessarily received or how they're going to be impact my reach and my sales. There is a little bit where people kind of think if they know that you're getting paid, that you're paying for a review, they may not, they may tune out the review a little bit. It's like an ad at that point, and so it's people are, I think there's a little bit less likelihood to take that information that you receive well. And so I just didn't think at this point it made any sense for me, so I didn't do this. So I'm not advising you not to do it. It depends on what your book is. I think that this may be really helpful for self help or certain kinds of certain kinds of niche categories that won't necessarily have a more organic way of getting that buzz and getting those reviews. But I tried to go with a more organic method. All right. So the second paid option is you pay an ARC site. So an ARC is an advanced reader copy, and there's ARC sites like Readsy Discovery, which is what I used. There is NetGalley. There's Voracious Readers Only and Book Sirens and Booksprout and a bunch of other ones. And those services, you're paying whatever their fee structure is, not for them to do reviews, but for them to connect to you or to give your digital copy of your book to their reviewers. And reviewers tend to be book people who've applied, who, I don't think they're getting paid at all. I think they just want free books, and they were like, yeah, I'll write a review if it gets me free books. So there is a little bit more of an honesty to that. I think that's not something that I think there's no negative side to that perspective, connotation wise. I used, like I said, I used Readsy Discovery. With Readsy Discovery, I basically picked it because of the price and because I didn't know how all this worked when I started, and I thought I'll go a little bit cheap and see what happens. So for Readsy Discovery, I paid $50, and I got a review that they just assigned out randomly. I think that more people could review it, but nobody signed up to. It was a great review. It was a really good review, real well written, and it was great for pulling quotes to put on my website or the back of my book jacket, or um, even to like caption it and put it up on Instagram. I did that. Those were all great things that I got from it. The downside for me was that it didn't go up on Goodreads. Um, there was none of those other spots, Goodreads or Fable or any of the other book review sites where more people who aren't specifically ARC readers are going to kind of learn about books. Like, Goodreads is the most common right now, but there's Storygraphs and all those other ones that are picking up popularity, and those are where your average reader who isn't just trying to get as many free books as they can is going. And so, unfortunately, that review didn't end up on there, and that's fine. I wouldn't do it again though necessarily, because $50 for a review didn't end up being exactly what I wanted, but the review is good, so take it with a grain of salt. Now, other ones, NetGalley, I looked at their fee structure, and they everyone that I've seen online, NetGalley is the most popular from what I can tell. I think that I would have gotten a lot of reviews from NetGalley, but it was a lot more money. So it was $550, I think I saw, for 6 months, where my book would be up on there for 6 months for people to grab and review during that time. And there may have been other fees built in, like if there may have been other fee structure pieces in there, but that was the baseline starting that I saw. Um, if I hadn't been able to get reviews, that might have been a good way. But I was able to eventually get reviews. Beyond that, one other one that I want to mention, I may still end up doing for myself, is Voracious Readers Only. The reason why I say that is Voracious Readers Only offers you, you post it. It looks like you post it for free, and after the first 20 reviews, then they will start asking you to get into a paid service. And that looks like it's $30 a month to keep it listed. And maybe that's worth it, maybe it's not, depending on how you're doing with that. But the free 20 reviews is great. A great option. So I'm thinking, when I was researching today, I looked at Voracious Readers after I'd already done. I found out about it after I had done Readsy, and I was like, I'll look at it later. I was having a lot of positive with my free ARC reviewers, which I will talk about in just a couple minutes. So do I recommend paying for a ARC review site? It's definitely not the worst option. I think that I'm glad that I paid for that over paying someone to write a review specifically, or to post a review specifically, because I think that price wise I didn't end up spending as much, but also like my book's still up there. People can still see that review on Readsy, and I believe that it links them to buy my book if they want. So there are benefits. It's not, but I do think just do your research a bit before you commit to one or the other. See what the benefits are over over the other. Now you're probably wondering, like, well, what are all the free ARC options? Why wouldn't I go to that first? Free ARCs are great, and they are what I'm doing and what I recommend that most people do. But it is more work. So I am going on. There may be other social media that you use that would be good for this, but personally, I was thinking TikTok and Instagram for myself. And I'm going on, and I find book reviewers, bookstagrammers, and book talkers who are posting. I find them and I try to figure out who might be right for me. Now, the way I pick out that is a couple criteria. So first, I want to find somebody who is looks like their material looks open to my particular genre and niche. So I did see lots of romantasy and fantasy and rom-com and I saw some people who focused almost exclusively on BIPOC authors, and obviously I don't fit into those niches, so it wasn't so much a matter of not wanting to waste people's time, but it was not wanting to reach out to people and act as if I had not seen their stuff when I did my research and I found out. Now, in a lot of cases, I found some really interesting reviewers, and I had started following them. And even though they weren't right for me to try to send them my book, um, in other cases, as reviews have come out and they've started commenting on other reviews of my book, I've kind of reached out to people and said, "Oh, hey, because I didn't think based on their stuff that they would like it. I didn't want to insult them. I think that that's a good method of going about it, is saying like I want to find people who are open to my genre and niche. I also, like, in lots of situations, found people who had a very diverse um, list of books that they had reviewed. So, like they may have had lots of fantasy or romantasy, but they also had classics, and they had, I would, if they were diverse, then I would say, here you go. What do you think about this? Um, so I pitched to people saying, I would reach out DMing people and saying, hey, I am a first time novelist. I'm self publishing. Is there any chance I could send you a free copy of my book? And if you're in sales, or if you've ever been in sales, you know that for every no, it's going to take a lot of no's to get a yes. Um, you're not going to get a lot of no's. What you're going to get is a good amount of no answers. And don't take that personal. A lot of times it's algorithm. You may, if you're not friends with that person, or you're not, like, they're not following you back, their settings may just immediately bump you into the unapproved messages, or the category for spam, essentially. So don't take it personal if someone doesn't respond to you. Um, I got zero bad responses. I got a couple of no's, but it was always very kind. Hey, I just don't think that this is right for me, or hey, I have too much on my plate right now. They were always great in that way. But I've gotten a lot of yeses. I have about 40 people, either who have reviewed or are in the process of reading and reviewing my book. Um, yeah. So as we, one other thing I want to talk about with picking your people is picking the people that you want to reach out to is you don't. So when I started, I wanted to go after people with big audiences. Like, that seemed the way to go, and it is tempting to go after people with big audiences. I got very few responses from people with big audiences, understandably. What I did eventually realize is that it was more important to me to get small audience with people who were posting and doing reviews regularly. It meant a couple things. It meant, one, that, like, if they're posting several times a week, or they're posting fairly regularly, my book's not going to sit on their shelf forever. Um, and that was kind of important to me, so that we can get things flowing. Now, when I say that, the audience size didn't matter. When originally I was looking at like tens and hundreds of thousands of followers, when I was looking at people, and that was just crazy. Uh, Now I'm seeing sometimes it's people with as few as 250 followers. Um, but if they've posted a few dozen reviews, then, like, that's great. Uh, Realistically, everybody who's doing that on Instagram or TikTok, they are also posting on Goodreads. And Goodreads doesn't, Goodreads reviews are great regardless of, whether you have a million followers or a few. I have not noticed many people on Goodreads with massive follower counts. So, like, I haven't, I don't think I think it's the great equalizer in that way. Storygraph, I've gotten a few. I think I've gotten a couple reviews, like, and I love those other ones too. It's just that they're fewer and farther between. I do want to encourage non-Amazon stuff, but I also got to be realistic, right? You need to be realistic. Um, so don't just go after the big fish. Go after people who are consistent. That's really good. It's also, if they're consistent, they're going to be great at going. You're going to be able to have conversations throughout the process with them, which is great. I actually feel like I've made friends through this review process, and I think that, like, that is something that is great, and you should try to do if you can. Keep in mind that, like, if you write your next book, maybe this is a person who would love to review, if they reviewed your book, they may love to read the next one. I would tend to think that that's the case. I know that once I love somebody's book, I want to read the next thing. Um, all right. And now I said free, and this is free, so I want you to keep that in mind. It's free to do these arcs. There is a benefit to sending a hard copy, which is going to cost you something, as opposed to just your digital copy. The benefit is that it gives people more to work with artistically. So I'll give you an example. Most of the people who I sent a free copy, a hard copy to, um, they posted before they got to the review. Some of them haven't even read it yet, and they posted. Uh, and they're able to post it in a way that's more artistic than, here's my iPad with my digital copy, which is great, and you love that too. But like, people aren't as likely to do that until they get to the review. If you're sending hard copies, people love to hold up a copy or post it. A lot of Instagrammers are posting, stills all, where they're putting it on, on a really cool tablecloth or in front of a, nice scene, and they're doing some advertising for you because it helps their engagement, but it also is helping you, and so that's a good reason. Sending hard copies can be costly depending on how you're doing it. That's why I didn't exclusively send hard copies. I got to a point where it was like, my budget I can't really continue to just keep sending these to everyone I'm trying to reach out to, because I want to engage. I want everyone that I can get to engage to engage. If I can get 200 reviews and not get paid for those books, but then I would do that. I would love that, because I think that's a great way of getting buzz going. But I can't afford to send out 200 copies of my book. That's thousands of dollars. Um, so keep that in mind. There's probably a little bit of scariness to this idea of getting reviews. And I get that. And I think that my recommendation to you is to just take a deep breath, because I don't think you're going to get really bad reviews. Even if your book is terrible, I don't think you're going to get bad reviews. I think, or very bad reviews. The people that I've connected with on social media that are doing book reviews, they reserve their negative book reviews for bad books by big authors. Um, they are very understanding that you're self-publishing, which probably means you have limited resources as far as editing or as far as feedback. Even in like some of the writing styles and stuff, like you're limited compared to what Stephen King has as a resource, and obviously he could get anything he needed to help him writing. You know what I'm saying? So your reviewers are going to be open-minded about that. I think in the few occasions where you actually get negative reviews or semi-negative reviews, it's probably going to be more constructive or softly worded in ways that aren't going to sound terrible, but they will be like more constructive about it, give you some idea of how to not make these mistakes going forward. And that is helpful. It's not something that you necessarily want public, but I get it. And I also, what you give for a review and what you give for a rating aren't always matching up. I think a lot of ARC reviewers don't really go below 4 stars because they don't want to offset, they don't want to upset somebody's, livelihood. And as far as the bad reviews, I also think one thing you need to keep in mind is that a lot of people are not going to accept your book if it is a category they don't like. Um, I got a few people telling me that my book was not really what they would typically read, and they didn't want to take it feeling pressure to give a good review if they didn't think they were going to like it, just based on subject matter or genre. And that's fair, and that's good. That's a really good thing for me, because if they had read it, they might have been like, this sucks because I don't like this. And then, you know, most people aren't going to hear the "I didn't like this book." They're going to hear that, and they're not going to continue to the because. So people aren't going to do, people are going to give you a lot of benefit of the doubt in this process. It may seem pretty logical, but you shout them from the rooftops. You're going to, if someone gives you a good review on social media, you need to be sharing, liking, commenting on that. Say thank you, give it a like, share it to your story or to your feed. A lot of times, almost every time that I got a good review, someone tagged me in it. They're not, they want you to share it because that you're helping them in that way too by sharing it. And um, so everyone, they're not the bad reviews. I haven't. I don't know if I'm missing them and I haven't been tagged in them or what. But as far as bad reviews, I haven't seen any, so I don't know. But the good reviews, do all that with it. Also, feel free to quote them. Like if they have a good quote, reach out to them, make sure it's okay. Usually they're going to say that's fine. I mean, I think that's part of the process, and they all kind of expect that. But you can take those quotes, and if they give you 5 stars and they say, like, even if it's one of my reviews that I took it from her Goodreads, and she did a video. When I took it, she just at the end of it, she wrote so good, 5 stars, and I was like, even if there's a lot of substance in the review itself, that's a great like snapshot. That's great to get someone's attention. Um, Use those. You can make them into graphics, and I will say I just this past week finalized my back cover, and my back cover is going to have reviews, quotes from reviews from ARC readers, and I made sure I got everybody's permission to do that. And then when I posted a picture of it on my Instagram, I tagged everybody. I think every single person I tagged shared it because they're on their names on a book cover, and like that's exciting. And so they're in this with you. These are your ride or dies. So I really recommend if people who say yes to you, people who then read your book and give it a good review, stay connected. I think that like these are people who, even if they just liked that book and maybe they aren't going to like your future stuff, like they did something great for you, and keep that in mind. We're going to keep the buzz train going next time, and we're going to talk about being creative and figuring out creative ways to market that apply specifically to your book.